Now on today's video I want to share a little bit of the information about mixing and matching paint that I've run into over many years of painting, and some good tips that I think you can use right away if you're new to painting. We're going to take a little trip down to our local body shop Supplied. It's a very interesting place to go to, a real old school body shop, and deal with our friend Dennis, who's an expert at mixing custom paint and matching paint. And he's done the FZR for me, and today he really stepped up to the plate getting this matched. This is a very difficult color to get perfect. I think, in no uncertain terms, it took him quite a while to do it, and he got it perfect in the end. So this morning I really got a wake-up call that I wasn't expecting. I really was not expecting this. I got blindsided. I had tried to buy the paint for the MT09, the blue paint. I checked with Colorite, and of course they're the biggest supplier of those aftermarket paints. They don't have a code for it. Now I think it's very similar to the R1, but I'm not really going to just take a chance on that. I'm not too happy about that. And the reason I'm not crazy about that is, in the past I have painted several parts of the R1, and I've had 3 or 4 different people, I won't mention any names or the companies, their idea of what matches and my idea was 2 totally different things. So this morning I thought, one of the things I'm going to do before I get involved in anything, I want to make sure I have the matching paint, because the time that I want to be using this is coming up soon. Now, Gavin's has always mixed paint for me. Dennis over there is very good, and I've always leaned on him for getting these things right. The problem is, you know, like anything, it's a chunk of the day to go over there and take care of business. But you know what? I want to get this in place, because once the bad weather gets here, I want to have everything in the cellar and ready to go. And I'm almost ready now. I just need 3 more cups of coffee and I'll be ready to go down to Gavin's. Now, when I made the seat for the R1, I made that back piece. I've shown that before. In fact, I'm going to show it again here. I made 2 of them. I made a high one with a little bit of a backrest. So if at the time when I bought this bike, I was really thinking I might want to go to the drags one time. That never played out, but I wanted to have a high seat and a low seat, and that one worked out the better of the 2. So the issue is, this is made from a very exotic type of wood that they use to make ocean racing boats. I happen to have some in stock, and I decided, well, it was a very easy choice because nobody made this part. And I thought, when I made the part, of course it's all fiberglass and carbon fiber, and then it came time to match the paint. I said, oh boy, close but no cigar. Well, I really had to spend a lot of time to get this to match. But now that I have it matched, I can see how close we are with the MT09, because nobody has the paint code. So rule number 1, anytime you're trying to match paint, rule number 1, where you get somebody that knows what they're doing, you can spend an awful lot of money in paint and get it almost right. And I have done that myself even, that's how I know. And have extra coffee available at all times. So this is the whole thing in a nutshell. You want to look at it. Here we are under fluorescent light. Colors look different under fluorescent light, incandescent, and sunlight. So I want to see how close this is under all 3 conditions. So this is basically the 2 seats that I made, the high one, the low one. And I thought for a minute, I don't know if I'm sure I didn't paint them on the same day at the same time, but I wanted to take them out in the sun and see which one closest matches. And I don't even remember where I got the paint from, because several people supplied me with paint back in the day. Now I'm out in the bright sunlight and I'm looking to see how close that really is. It's close. I'm not sure it's close enough, but it is close, that's for sure. Now this is the other seat. I'm trying to see if in the sun actually this one is the closer of the 2. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I'm being too fussy. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But you've got to look at it in a shade, incandescent. Now, in the incandescent colors inside the garage, it looks perfect. Out here, 99%. But here's the other thing. This is the technology of matching paint. this piece is not going to be close. If these two pieces were like this and didn't match, well, it'd be a problem. Back here, I don't think you'll even notice it, and the little eyebrows you won't even notice. So I get the impression. I think we're going to be another cup of coffee, and I'll decide what I'm going to do here. These are big decisions, because the whole thing with this is I want this to be perfect, and I have already ordered a windshield that I'm thinking of a real custom feature I can make with the windshield that'll require some paint. Now the other little issue is because we're in bright sunlight, is there's always these colors that when the sunlight is really bright they match, and when it's shady they don't match, especially metallic. So I'm trying to be real fussy before I make a commitment here, but I think these look pretty much the same. Maybe they were painted. I think it was 11 years ago that I made these, so 10 years ago. So I don't have any to paint left from this. I don't even have the can that I could match, take the coat off. Now when Color-Rite supplies the paint, and assuming someday they're going to get back to being able to supply paint, what happens is they take a code and they work from the code. They don't need a part to match it. What they're going to do at Gavin's is take a camera and take a picture of this paint, so that, well, it's as close as we can get it. But anyway, it's all beside the point, because the parts of the bike that are going to be, nothing is real close. It's not going to be a real super critical thing. So I think we're pretty good to go. I just wanted to have another cup of coffee before I make the commitment, because believe me, the paint is pricey. You get sticker shock when you go down there and price out a quart of paint. So it's funny, sometimes you just get an idea of what you want to do, and I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, I've seen other bikes, they make an accessory cowl for this, but to me it doesn't float my boat. This, and I'm guessing because this paint looks like it's going to be fine, by the way. I think that I'll take the other part down with me just to make sure. But that may be something for the future, and that would be very easy to make, just like making the RD seat. And I've seen a couple of people that did custom bikes and painted this. They're usually red, and when that's painted, it looks a whole lot better than flat gray. I really don't like flat gray at all. I don't like anything flat. And then I have to think about something I can do with this sticker here. I'm already thinking, but I don't know for sure until I come up with some idea I can't live without. But yeah, to tell you the truth, I like that little seat thing. And that really, I don't know why I didn't try that before. Anyway, I'm going to put the bike away and get off to Gavin's. So this is something when you're matching and you run, these two parts are touching each other, they really have to match really good. So again, I'm very surprised I never thought of that before. Food for thought for the future. Anyway, and let's hope Gavin's going to have success matching this. Dennis is usually real good, and by the way, just to give Dennis a pat on the back, he mixed the Yamaha yellow to match. I brought him a part from the RD that has the official Kenny Roberts Yamaha yellow color, and he did a fantastic job. Even to this day, I give him credit. Thank you again, Dennis. No, it's a beautiful day to be headed down to beautiful downtown Paterson. And it's a fine little half-hour ride, maybe a little less. And beautiful downtown Paterson this time of year. A sight to behold. We arrive at our destination. World famous Gavin's Auto Body. World famous on many windy videos. So look at this. All customers must wear masks. Good thing I have a mask, just in case I want to rob the place. That's at 09.
What did I make?
Show me the camera. Show me the money. I got a mask on. I could rob the place. Show me how you do this. Oh, look at it. Makes perfect.
Hopefully.
Ah! No, while he's mixing the paint, we got giant amounts of 4CR here. Best stuff on the planet. And this is the stuff. This is by far the best stuff you can ever use to buff out paint. I'm going to pick one up here. If I can afford it, I don't know.
No.
Every time I'm here, I find a way to spend money, and then Karen says, did we really need all that stuff? She's right. I think too, they even have these little fairing fasteners. Very handy stuff. That's Dennis's favorite. Look, you pay for a quart of paint. Look what you get, a can of thinner. Yeah, that looks good, Dan. That's good.
Did I tell you how much this quart of paint's gonna cost?
Don't tell me on camera, my wife will kill me.
I don't want to tell you.
It's not $39 like it was?
39 for your wife.
39.
I don't want to tell you how much.
When Jimmy Carter was president. So the paint is $300 a quart. $300. The bike is going down in value as we speak. And this is the stuff that really, really works. 8065. When these parts are done, they'll be perfect. Now it looks like Dennis has a perfect match. We even checked it out in the sun. I'm real happy with the way that looks. And who knew? The paint, $300, and the rest of the stuff I got the matching thinner. This is super high-end paint, and of course 8065 to buff it out. Boy, you always get sticker shock when you go to buy paint. Now, as I'm leaving Gavin's and riding back, I'm reminded of the time, and I go back a long way with paint, when paint was $10 a quart, and if you bought the expensive stuff, it was $13 a quart, not $300. But I want this paint perfect, and you know, whenever you want anything perfect, you got to pay the price. So it is really good to get back to the farm, or what used to be a farm. And boy, what memories of buying paint at cheaper prices. Oh boy, you always get sticker shock when you want it right. And that is premium grade paint, by the way. That is not the lowest price paint there is, for sure. All right, so whenever you buy some new paint, or paint that's supposed to match, I got some do's and don'ts and some tips to share that may be helpful. Now, again, I'm very lucky in the fact that it looks like Yamaha didn't change the color too much from the R1 to the MT09. But keep in mind, you know, sometimes colors look exactly alike, and when you take them out in the sun, they don't match. Usually that's yellows and reds. And it was such a job matching the RD paint. I wanted the FZ, the FZR, and the RD to match exactly like they were twins to a racing team in my collection. So I paid the price with Dennis, and it paid off, and I still have plenty of paint. And once again, it does look like Dennis stepped up to the plate here. It took them over an hour. And what they did, the way they did this, they made half a pint of paint, and then we took it out in the sun to make sure it matched. And then we looked on the fluorescent lights, and it looked real good. But of course, you never really know, because here's what's going to happen. When you put the clear on paint, it changes, and we know that from any of these colors, any one of them, it doesn't matter what, but it's really reds and yellows that are extremely hard to match. The reason is reds and yellows, what they tend to do is fade in time. So that even if you have the original can of paint and the bike is 10 years old, it's already faded. And this is why when I did the West Cooley bike and I got the paint, I bought an extra quart, because I was just thinking, oh boy, am I going to have, if you need a quart, I need a quart to paint a bike. And if a year later I'm going to want to match it, I'll be stuck. It was a good investment. So this was critical too, as I'm almost out of 8065, and this is when you're painting new paint, soft paint, and you want to buff it out. Boy, I have never found anything better than this. Here's another tip worth its weight in gold. If you're going to be doing something that you really treasure and you really want, that premium, absolute perfect. What's good is to always get the right kind of thinner. Don't just take a chance on something you had from 5 years ago. So I wound up getting the thinner that matches the paint. And of course, the tip is, anytime you have the same company, and this is I think it's mid-temp, yeah. So here's what you look for, always mid-temp, medium temperature. I don't want it, especially with plastic parts. Those eyebrows and those side covers are plastic. We're going to have to use primer sealer on them, but mid-temp would be fine. It's a 50-50 mix, but here's the tip that's worth its weight in gold. Now that I've paid the premium price to get this formula, let's assume and we don't want to ever figure this out. No, discount this. This can happen. That you want to paint another bike exactly that color, or who knows what, or you have a scratch or a dent, or in the worst case, an accident. I want to have this formula here, so I'm going to cut this with a razor off the can and put it in my scrapbook somewhere where I won't lose it. But that is the formula that they get from the camera, and that's great information. Don't lose it. I always write on a label because I have so much paint downstairs in cans that I can't. My memory is not that good that I don't know which matches Glenn's Ducati and Luciano's Ducati and none of that. So I always write on the can and the date. That's always a nice handy thing to have, because years from now we want to come back to this paint and do a touch-up. You never know. So my philosophy is, and it's a good thing to share this with people, if you're going to paint something and it has to match. Now, if it doesn't have to match, who cares? But when you want it to match, I want those parts, and I will pay the price that they match. And I'm also going to have a piece that I'm anticipating making for up here that includes a little windscreen. I don't know if that's going to work out yet. I have the part on order from China, and they said it's 2 months delivery. We're going to find out. But anyway, here's the thing. I'll call these eyebrows, for lack of a better word. Always take the smallest part you have. I'll take the 2 little parts off when we do go and it's time to paint. Paint them, bring them outside, make sure they match, that you're happy with them. Now, if you're happy with them, put them back on the bike, do the next biggest part. You don't want to, I don't want to paint all of the parts at one time and then, oh my God, they don't match. Well, I just wasted my life here. Because if these don't match or I'm not happy with them, it's time to go to plan B and get some other paint. Another $300 can of paint. Well, but that philosophy has worked well for me as a painter over the years, that I don't wind up painting the whole thing and it doesn't match. Now, before I painted the wheels, and I did this restoration, and I'll call it customization with the gold, I wanted all this gold to match. And I wanted the gold, and mostly the gold on the wheels, to be what I had envisioned. Well, if you buy gold paint, I went to Gavin's, and not one color gold they had I liked. I didn't like any of them. None of them floated my boat. So Karen and I did and I know this is on video, I made a test with 10 different kinds of gold pigment and mixed my own paint. Now, when I mixed it, and this is the reason I'm sharing this information, I didn't mix a 4-ounce jar or a pint. I mixed 2 quarts of it. 2 quarts. Because I knew the day may come, I want to do another set of gold wheels. Well, I'm going to do silver on the MT09, but when I mix the silver, I'll mix enough, and I'll make my own paint. Now, especially if I'm going to have to pay $300 a quart, I can definitely make my own paint. And just sharing useful information, this is a Camaro color. It's an ordinary GM Camaro color. So here's what I'm saying. If you use this paint, it's significantly cheaper. And you can use the lower quality paint. Actually, it's not really going to matter on a bike with a very low-end bike that you're not going to want to spend a lot of money on. But the Camaro paint worked. It seemed to work out fine on this. I also made enough to do the wheels when I got it. You're always tempted to say, oh, I only need a pint, because it's expensive. And after you're done, you always wind up having to buy the second pint anyway. And now you spent 50% more than if you just bought the quart to begin with. And that's good information too. Now, the biggest part of the MT09, over the winter, I'm going to make a set of silver wheels. I will mix the silver paint until I'm happy with it. I'm actually happy with this paint, and I do have enough. If I have to or want to, I can just use the rest of the paint. But I'd really like to have the wheels silver. That's now what John Pathia did, and thank you, John, did some concept sketches with the blue wheels, gold wheels, bronze color wheels, whatever. And we all agreed, and Karen had the final vote. Silver was the way to go. Now, I've seen them on R1s too, where people chrome plate the wheels. I don't like that at all. I like it silver though. Silver has a nice subtle, looks like it comes from the factory that way. I think when I do that to the MT09, I'm going to be real happy with the way it worked out. And what happens with the MT09, because you have the whole back end is open, it's not like a real sport bike with everything hanging down. the back wheel is on full display. I think that's really going to look nice when that's hand buffed silver. So this whole thing today, to get that matching paint, it wasn't just a question of going on Amazon and buying a spray can. And now I know Colorite has spray cans. They're 50 bucks a piece. I'd rather have it that I can put it in a spray gun. And one of the reasons I'm willing to spend money on paint that maybe a lot of people would just buy cheaper paint or whatever, because I plan on, and it's a big thing for me, I plan on keeping all these bikes. I don't flip bikes, I don't sell them, I don't trade them in on other stuff. And when I invest the money and the time, I really want to keep them forever. I call these my forever bikes. And because Karen bought me this for my birthday, it's even more special than if I just went to the store and bought it. So because I am a big customer of Gavin's, I got a 10% discount. And this is funny, even with the discount, the amount is over $355. Wow. So, but you know what? This is an investment, and it's something I want perfect on that motorcycle. Now, a couple things. You always have to shake this paint up because it's metallic and it has pearl in it. That you just can't just look at the paint. It's got to be shaken up. But I can get real close just by looking at this and going over to the motorcycle. And I think that's going to be really, really nice. Now, there's some big areas, but they're separated areas. And I never know in the future if there's other... I've seen some guys that paint these little side panels and do other stuff. I always want to have... I don't want to have to go back and buy paint. I want to have some in inventory. Now, another thing worth mentioning, never use up the last little bit of paint. Always mark the can and save it. You never know, and especially with my FZR, first day after that restoration, I had an accident and needed to have a lot of touch-up paint, and it saved my bacon. And we even got it marked Turbo Steve GS wheels, FZR second quart white, Synergy green, Benelli with slow thinner, Glenn's Kawasaki. It pays to always have touch-up paint. Never use up the last of the paint. So it might seem like today was a waste of time and we spent basically a whole day to do this, but it doesn't matter. I have the paint code now to match. I'm going to do my little test part, those two little things under the headlight, and what's good about that, I can still ride the bike while those are being painted. I don't need those to ride the bike. So this is what I really, really needed, and I didn't want to do this with some kind of in-between mix and match thing, and I wanted all of the stuff to be the best quality I possibly can. Basically, again, because the reason is I plan on keeping this bike to the end. And then who knows what, Turbo Steve will come over and steal it. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, I did try to share some good information on this video. I hope some of it is worthwhile for you if you're going to paint something or buy paint or try to match paint. And we try to share all that type of information on my channel, and you can put my name in quotation marks and then anything relating to paint, including those gold wheels. But all of those projects are going to be coming up very soon as we start the winter projects, and it's coming up sooner than you can imagine. So our winter projects are all starting to build themselves up on our little project table. This is what happens every time this time of year, every year. And there's certain things I'm really looking forward to on this MT09. I have the windshield on order, and I really have an idea how that's going to look. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. We have the muffler from the FZR, the parts, but the clamp still isn't gotten here yet. And all of the bikes have some little projects on them that I want to address one by one. I try to prioritize them so that the ones that really matter get done first. And if I run out of time, springtime gets here and they're not all done, the ones that aren't done aren't keeping me from riding the bikes. So it's a simple thing. We try to share good information on a channel, and we post something almost every day. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.